I can't believe you're actually doing this. That's what ran through my head the moment my phone buzzed on my desk at 11:03 a.m., February 12th, right in the middle of a painfully boring staff meeting at my office in Chicago. The message glowed on the screen. I'm flying out this afternoon to see my online boyfriend for Valentine's. Don't wait up. Be back Sunday night. My stomach dropped, and my eyes widened as I stared at the text from Emily, my girlfriend of 4 years. 4 years. Living together for 2. Sharing bills, groceries, dinners, Netflix marathons, and she was literally abandoning all of it for some guy she'd never even met in person. I read it 3 times, hoping my brain would correct the mistake, maybe auto-delete the last few lines. But no. Each word hit harder, sharper. Online boyfriend? Valentine's? Flying out? On my credit card? My hands trembled slightly as I typed a single word back. What? The reply came immediately. You heard me. This relationship isn't working. I deserve someone who understands me emotionally in ways you never could. You're too controlling anyway. Too controlling. I laughed out loud, incredulously, in the middle of the office. Too controlling because I suggested she get a job after being unemployed for 8 months? Too controlling because I asked her to contribute to rent like any responsible adult? The audacity burned like acid. But then I noticed the pending charge blinking on my banking app. $512 to Spirit Airlines. The card I had issued her for emergencies, the same one she used for DoorDash, Amazon, random impulse buys. It had been repurposed to fund her betrayal. My blood boiled, but the methodical part of me kicked in. I didn't reply. Instead, I called my credit card company, reported the card lost, canceled it immediately, removed her as an authorized user on all accounts, changed my Amazon and Uber passwords, and even updated my phone plan to cut her line off. I did it all in less than 20 minutes. Every transaction she tried to sneak in, every swipe of her hand to take what wasn't hers anymore, ended there. I went back to my office, keeping calm, pretending like nothing had happened. Jerome, my coworker, noticed the stress lines deepening on my face. You good, man? He asked, genuinely concerned. I managed a shaky smile. Yeah, just found out my girlfriend has an online boyfriend she's flying to meet. Guess I'm too controlling because I want her to pay rent, I muttered, and Jerome just whistled, shaking his head. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice, a mix of panic and hysteria, pierced through the receiver. What did you do? She cried. I'm at O'Hare. My card got declined. I can't board. I leaned back in my chair, letting out a sigh that felt like it carried the weight of every manipulated favor, every unpaid bill, every I told you so moment I had swallowed over the years. Emily, I said calmly, though inside I was a storm. You literally just told me you were leaving to meet another man for Valentine's. I'm not paying for that. She sobbed harder, pleading, Please, just let me come home. We can talk. I looked around the apartment we shared. Not hers, technically, since the lease was in my name from day one, and shook my head. Home? You mean my apartment that you haven't contributed to in months? The apartment you've used for your comfort while secretly messaging some stranger for 6 months? My words landed like bricks. She paused, choked back another sob, and muttered, It's not like that. He's just someone who understands me. You wouldn't get it. I wanted to laugh, but the laugh caught in my throat, bitter and sharp. Understand you? You've been lying to me for half a year while spending my money and pretending you needed emotional support. This isn't understanding, Emily. It's betrayal. Her silence on the other end was punctuated only by the faint background noise of airport chatter. I could practically see her slumped over the payphone, mascara running, tickets clutched in a trembling hand that would now go unused. I hung up, calm, methodical, resolved. I had made the decision official. She had abandoned us. I wasn't going to enable the destruction of my own life anymore. Later that evening, around 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. Emily's sister, Karen, stood there, furious and indignant. I had already packed Emily's belongings, carefully in boxes and suitcases, ready for her to take or not. Open this door right now, she demanded. I opened the door just a crack, keeping the chain on. Hey, Karen, you don't hate me, right? What kind of guy leaves a woman stranded at the airport? I smirked, knowing the answer. The kind whose girlfriend is flying across the country on his credit card to meet another man. Emily pushed forward, pleading, begging for explanations, but I had none to give her anymore. Every lie she had spun, every manipulation, every selfish choice, it all came crashing down like a dam she had blown herself. And for the first time in years, I felt free. The night air was heavy with tension as Emily and Karen lingered outside, staring at the apartment like I was the villain in some poorly written drama. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, and simply watched. Emily's tears glistened under the hallway light, but her pleas fell flat. Baby, please, just let me explain. Derek means nothing. I swear it's not what it looks like. I laughed again, this time with sharper edges. Derek isn't nothing. You literally called him your boyfriend. For 6 months while we were together. Half a year of lies, Emily, and now you expect me to just forget it? She gasped, a strangled sound that mingled desperation and disbelief. Karen stepped forward, scowling. Danny, maybe you're overreacting. Everyone makes mistakes. She's serious about wanting another chance. I shook my head slowly, letting the words settle like a hammer on the concrete of reality. No, she made her choice the moment she started sending nudes to some guy she'd never met in person. That's not a mistake, Karen. That's betrayal. Emotional cheating. And I've spent the last 8 months supporting someone who doesn't care about contributing to her own life. Enough. Emily's face twisted, anger seeping into her tears. You're taking this too far. You're cruel. You're abusing me emotionally, financially, everything. I blinked, letting her words echo for a moment before replying with calm precision. Let me get this straight. You flew across the country using my money to meet someone else? Then you call me abusive? You're upset because the safety net you've relied on for years has been removed. That's called consequences, Emily. And you never learned to walk on your own, so gravity caught up with you. Karen tried to intervene again, voice rising. Danny, she lives here. You can't just... I cut her off. Voice steady. She doesn't live here. Not legally. She's a guest. The lease is in my name. She's been living rent-free, supported by my work, while scheming behind my back. She's welcome to gather her belongings and leave. That's it. Emily's sobs grew louder, shaking her frame violently. Where am I supposed to go? My mom? Your apartment? Derek's? My patience had a limit, but I stayed composed. Your mom, Karen's house, Derek, who, by the way, is unemployed and cannot help you. That's reality, Emily. You chose this. You wanted this. Don't blame me for the path you carved for yourself. I gestured to the carefully stacked boxes in the hallway. Everything you own is packed. Jewelry, clothes, keepsakes. I've kept what I paid for. The rest is yours. Emily froze, a mix of shock and fury crossing her face. You kept the ring, the one from my grandmother. I raised an eyebrow, unwavering. The one she's still wearing, last I checked. Gifts while we were together are one thing. When the relationship ends, ownership reverts. You wanted to play the victim, Emily? Now deal with reality. Karen's jaw dropped. This is emotional abuse, financial abuse. You can't just... I interrupted again, calm but firm. I can. I did. And I will. She doesn't contribute. She doesn't respect boundaries. She doesn't honor agreements. This is a wake-up call, Karen. One she needed years ago. Emily's cries became wails. You ruined everything. Derek would have understood. He would have... I smiled faintly, a mix of pity and incredulity. Oh, you mean the guy you lied to, sent inappropriate photos to, and called your boyfriend? Sorry, Emily. He's not your boyfriend. He's just someone you gamed with online. Emotional connection? Please. That was one-sided delusion. Hours later, as they finally loaded her things into Karen's car, Emily shot one last glare over her shoulder. You'll regret this. You're a monster. I shook my head, almost amused. Go be with Derek, Emily. Oh, wait. You can't. Neither of you can afford the plane ticket. Reality is harsh, isn't it? That night, Valentine's Day, I sat at my kitchen table sipping a cup of coffee. My phone buzzed constantly. Emily's posts, angry and dramatic, claiming I was a narcissistic abuser, leaving her homeless. Half her friends rallied behind her. Half questioned the logic of flying to meet a guy she hadn't met in person while abandoning her apartment. My mom called, concerned but ultimately understanding. My life was suddenly quieter, lighter. The weight of enabling someone else's drama had been lifted. And while Emily's online world burned, I finally felt the satisfaction of simple truths prevailing. Support is not a license to betray. Generosity is not a free pass for deception. And reality, however harsh, eventually catches up with everyone who tries to cheat it. 3 days after the airport fiasco, the universe seemed to enjoy a little comedic justice. Emily had moved in temporarily with her parents, who, after witnessing her chaos, finally put their foot down. Her mother called me, exasperated. "Danny, she's not helping around the house, not working, just obsessing over Derek online. Can you talk some sense into her?" I listened quietly, the corner of my mouth twitching into a faint smirk. 2 days ago, she had been begging me to let her back in. Now she was pestering everyone else. I said nothing. Meanwhile, her attempts to recast me as the villain hit social media. Emily created a GoFundMe titled "Help Me Escape My Abusive Ex and Start Fresh." The description painted me as controlling, manipulative, abusive, the classic narcissistic oppressor archetype. I watched it quietly, mostly amused. $5,000 goal, $73 raised, all from Karen, her sister. Not surprising. Half the comment section supported her, the other half asked the obvious questions. Wait, didn't you have an online boyfriend? Within hours, she deleted the whole page, realizing even her own audience wasn't buying her narrative. Then came the unexpected contact. An unknown number pinged my phone. Derek, not the fantasy boyfriend, the real Derek, local to my city. He had been pulled into Emily's drama unintentionally, thinking they had a deeper connection than what actually existed. "Hey, man, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Emily and I? We're just friends. I had no idea about any of this," he said, embarrassed and frustrated. I couldn't help but chuckle. "Tell me about it. She's been claiming you're her boyfriend, sending you intimate messages while you thought it was just friendly." Derek's laugh was awkward. "Yeah, she really spun this one. She told me she was single, and I was, between jobs, couldn't help her. She's something else." I forwarded him screenshots of her so-called deep emotional connection with him, including the photos she had sent, and he went quiet. "Oh, wow. Definitely not how I saw it." I smiled, sipping my coffee. This was justice in its purest, unplanned form. By the end of that week, Emily's attempts to reconcile with me escalated into a full-blown drama episode. Texts, calls, visits, each more desperate than the last. She tried to break into my apartment in the middle of the night, using an old key fob she still had for the building entrance. The Ring doorbell caught her attempts on video. 10 minutes of futile jimmying with a credit card, muttering under her breath. She left a note that morning. "We need to talk. You're being unreasonable. Derek and I are just friends now. Please give us another chance. I love you." I ignored it, of course. My life didn't need the chaos anymore. I had set boundaries, and she was learning, painfully, that boundaries are real and consequences unavoidable. Emily's family tried to intervene. Karen begged me, "Just talk to her. She's struggling." I shook my head, calm but resolute. "She's struggling, yes, but this isn't my problem anymore. She needs to face reality, earn her life, and stop expecting others to fund her emotional escapades." The next day, I went about my routine, work, errands, small joys of independence. Emily's social media blew up again. Rants, accusations, desperate pleas. Meanwhile, Derek, who had been dragged into this unknowing, reassured me privately that everything was clear on his end. Emily's narrative unraveled in real time, exposing the extent of her manipulations, her entitlement, and the delusions of her emotional affair. By the second week, Emily found employment at a local coffee shop, Grove and Garden, but her performance was tragically comedic. Smiles forced, hands shaking, forgetting orders, giving away drinks for free to make friends. Her mother called again, exasperated. "Danny, she's still not taking responsibility. Can you help?" I politely declined. At 29, Emily was old enough to navigate her own mistakes. She had created her own reality, and I was no longer willing to subsidize her drama. Meanwhile, I flourished. Work was calmer, my apartment cleaner, finances intact. Without the constant drain of someone else's entitlement and manipulation, I began to notice how much energy I had regained for myself. I started casually seeing someone new, Nicole, grounded, independent, kind. No online boyfriend, no drama, no financial dependence. Life felt balanced again, and for the first time in months, peaceful. Even when Emily found out I had moved on and texted, claiming, "I see you've moved on. I didn't expect this." I didn't respond. I had learned my lesson. Actions speak louder than words. And Emily? She was learning hers the hard way. For the first time, reality caught up with her in full measure, teaching lessons no fantasy relationship or entitlement could shield her from. A week after Emily's failed coffee shop stint, the chaos didn't stop. It just evolved. She had moved back with her parents, who finally drew the line. Get a job, pay rent, or get out. Emily, predictably, chose option 3, cling to anyone who might fund her lifestyle. Social media became her theater, each post a desperate plea for attention, each comment thread a battlefield. I watched from a safe distance, occasionally chuckling at the absurdity. Then came an unexpected encounter that was part karmic comedy, part reality check. I ran into Derek, the real one, not the fantasy boyfriend, while picking up groceries downtown. He recognized me instantly from social media posts that Emily had shared while trash-talking me. Awkward handshake, forced smiles, mutual recognition of absurdity. "Danny, what's going on here?" he asked. I filled him in quickly. Emily's 6-month emotional affair, the airport incident, the GoFundMe fiasco. Derek shook his head, genuinely baffled. "She made our guild super weird," he said. Apparently, she had told him their friendship was romantic while simultaneously spreading drama across their gaming circle. Our conversation drifted into laughter, disbelief, and shared pity. Derek's girlfriend, Melissa, had seen everything too. She reached out to thank me for clarifying the situation. Apparently, Derek thought it was harmless gaming friendship, but Emily had been sending him intimate photos, claiming a deep emotional connection. Melissa's thanks felt oddly satisfying. It was validation that reality had finally exposed her fabrications. Meanwhile, Emily continued her relentless attempts to insert herself into my life. She would text, call, and even show up at my workplace. One afternoon, security called. "There's a woman here claiming to be your girlfriend." I calmly told them, "Do not let her in." I watched on the monitor as she waved a box in the air, probably containing items she had hidden when she moved out, plotting to use them as leverage. I ignored it. She was desperate. I was consistent. Emily's attempts extended to the virtual realm as well. She messaged every mutual friend, creating elaborate stories painting me as the villain. She claimed emotional and financial abuse, trying to enlist Derek, Melissa, and even their friends into her narrative. It didn't work. Most people saw through the exaggeration. Derek had already blocked her. Melissa knew the truth. Emily's credibility was eroding, piece by piece. Despite all her attempts at chaos, I moved forward. Work thrived without the emotional drain of a manipulative partner. I received a promotion, and my bank account stabilized. Nicole, my new casual girlfriend, was independent, grounded, and free from the digital and emotional baggage that had dominated my life for months. Peace, quiet, and personal growth became my norm. Emily, on the other hand, floundered spectacularly. She started pursuing another online relationship, this time with someone from Canada. Predictably, the man blocked her after she requested he fund a plane ticket during their second video call. Her parents enforced the boundaries: pay rent or leave. Emily barely complied, but not without complaints, daily social media rants, and dramatic exaggerations. She was still 29, still learning the hard way that actions have consequences, and still struggling with the simple truth that life doesn't bend to entitlement. Every so often, social media would offer glimpses of her ongoing chaos. Complaints about work, fights with parents, desperate attempts to reclaim attention. I watched quietly, detached. I didn't respond, didn't engage. The drama no longer belonged to me. Emily was now navigating her own reality, facing the consequences of choices she had made months earlier. Meanwhile, I continued living my life. Apartment tidy, finances stable, career progressing, social life enriched. The contrast between Emily's ongoing chaos and my newfound stability was stark. For the first time in years, I experienced the rare satisfaction of seeing a toxic situation resolve itself without my direct involvement. The universe, in its own perfect timing, had done what I could not force. It had leveled the playing field, exposing dishonesty, entitlement, and manipulation for what it truly was. And as I watched the dust settle, I realized something important. Sometimes the best revenge isn't planning or plotting. It's simply removing yourself from enabling someone else's drama. By stopping the cycle, by enforcing boundaries, by living your own life authentically, the natural consequences of reality do the rest. Emily's saga, though messy and dramatic, had become a textbook case in personal responsibility, and I was free to move forward, finally unburdened, finally at peace. 3 months had passed since the infamous airport incident, and life had finally regained a rhythm I could call my own. Emily's presence, which once dominated every thought and email notification, had faded to sporadic social media updates and occasional family drama. She was still living with her parents, still struggling with work, and still chasing online fantasies that never bore fruit. Her latest attempt involved messaging a married man from Canada, hoping he'd fund her next grand adventure. Predictably, he blocked her after she asked for a plane ticket on their second video call. The universe had a cruel sense of humor, and I couldn't help but appreciate the poetic timing. Meanwhile, I was thriving. Work had been demanding but fulfilling, and without the constant stress of Emily's manipulations, I had more energy, more focus, and, surprisingly, more fun. Nicole, my casual girlfriend, became a grounding presence, independent, kind, and drama-free. Weekends were no longer filled with tense negotiations over bills, unpaid rent, or hidden online affairs. Instead, we explored the city, cooked meals together, and laughed without the weight of past betrayal hanging over us. Every now and then, I would see Emily's name pop up on social media, usually paired with a new meltdown. She posted rants about how everyone was against her, complained about having to contribute financially at her parents' house, or dramatically narrated her interactions with imaginary online boyfriends. But the chaos she had created was contained. Derek, the real one, and Melissa were now a stable couple, navigating life without interference. Emily had learned the hard way that actions have consequences, and that the fantasy world she had tried to escape into couldn't protect her from reality. Her family, once enablers, had finally enforced boundaries. Emily was paying rent, albeit reluctantly, at her parents' house. Every day presented a small but consistent lesson. Responsibility is non-negotiable, entitlement has limits, and the real world doesn't reward deception. Meanwhile, my apartment remained a sanctuary, calm, organized, and peaceful. The apartment, the finances, my energy, everything I had fought to protect was finally intact. For the first time in years, I felt secure in my space, in my choices, and in my ability to live without drama dictating every move. Then, as if to remind me of the absurdity of the past, I encountered Derek again in a local cafe. The handshake was awkward but friendly, laced with shared amusement over Emily's attempts to manipulate reality. He smiled, acknowledging that our mutual ex had created more chaos than either of us could have predicted. She really did make life complicated for everyone, he admitted, shaking his head. I laughed quietly. That's one way to put it. We parted ways, each carrying a small sense of satisfaction that honesty had prevailed over deception. Emily, for all her chaos, continued to attempt minor comebacks, texting, social media posts, even fleeting visits. But I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Life had taught her lessons the hard way, and my role was no longer to rescue her from the consequences of her own choices. She had lost her free ride, her false sense of empowerment, and her ability to manipulate without repercussion. Meanwhile, I gained clarity, peace, and the freedom to enjoy relationships and experiences without being drained by someone else's entitlement. By now, I understood the most important truth of all. Sometimes the best way to handle betrayal and manipulation isn't confrontation, revenge, or drama. It's consistency, boundaries, and living your life fully. Removing the safety net for someone who never learned to walk on their own allows reality to enforce the lessons they've long avoided. Emily's saga, while dramatic and exhausting, became a textbook example of personal responsibility catching up to unchecked entitlement. 3 months later, I could finally walk down the street without my thoughts being haunted by the drama of the past. Nicole and I enjoyed quiet weekends, brunches, and long walks. The apartment was mine in peace, my finances secure, and my mind clear. Emily remained a cautionary tale, visible only through social media glimpses, a woman still grappling with the consequences of her actions, still searching for shortcuts, still learning that life doesn't bend to manipulation or entitlement. And as I reflected on everything, I couldn't help but smile at the irony. I had been ready to react, to fight, to argue. But in the end, the simplest choices, boundaries, consistency, and living authentically, had done what no argument could. Emily had played her hand, and reality had played back, perfectly. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor, and I was free to finally enjoy life without the weight of her drama. Peace, clarity, and a little poetic justice, the best Valentine's gift I could have ever asked for.